take it back to the very beginning. Where do you think the love of dogs came from for you?
I always have had dogs, like growing up. I always had a dog. Um, like we always had dogs. We had um my first dog, its name was Angel. She was a little mutt. And then my mom took me to a pet store and we got a puppy on my like a week before my birthday, and it died on my birthday. It had parvo. So that was my first experience with parvo. Well, I was young. I can't believe I remember it. I must have been traumatized by all the vomit. And then we had a Cocker Spaniel, and he got hit by a car, and I got scars from him. He was mean as hell. And then we had what was he called? A Norwegian elk hound.
Oh,
Had a Norwegian elk hound. And then I had he was a Keeshond and Lhasa Apso mix. He was mean too. He was a little dog. He was mean. He wasn't mean to me, but anybody else, he would bite them. And then, I've always had some kind of a dog. I had Shepherds. I've had Great Danes. And I never bred dogs. Like, I always thought, man, I would love to have a litter of puppies. It'd be so fun. And that's really what we did. Honestly, my husband was like, I want an American Bulldog. And I was like, no, they're pit bulls. We're not getting a pit bull around our kids. Like, you're crazy. And my nerd brain, had to research it. So I started researching the breed, and I'm like, oh, well, they're not pit bulls. They're, they're actually, it says they're great with their families and whatever. And so we saw an ad in the paper, and I told my husband, I'm like, I found American Bulldogs in the paper for $500, and we've got the extra money if you want to go get one. And we went and picked him out, and he was hiding under the table like a little wuss. And now I would never pick that dog.
Right.
But he was hiding under, like, he had siblings that were like running all over the living room, like taking the guy's shoes and running all over the couches. And our puppy was like hiding, like with this, like a big wuss under the table. And Daryl's like, I want that one. So he picked him out. And he really, for like the first like 4 or 5 years of that dog's life, he was my husband's dog. Like, he was a good dog, but like he was good with our kids and everything, but he was my husband's dog. And then we decided we wanted to have a litter of puppies. So there was a lady in Columbus, Indiana, and she had a female that I wanted. And so I went and bought the female. And while I was picking the female up, the male dog that she had there, she had just gotten him from somebody else, and his name was Too Short. And he was the freakiest dog I've ever seen. He had balls. I mean, like his size balls of muscle in his shoulders. Like, the dog was just a ball of muscle. And he was so fun. Like, he would play. He had a swimming pool. Like, not a mean bone in his body, but he looked like he could really mess you up. But he was super cool dog. Great temperament. And I told her, when this female is old enough, I'm going to bring her back and breed to that dog. And she was like, okay. So that's what we did. We bred her to our male that we had first, not on purpose either. We're stupid and didn't, think they would tie up in the living room for some reason. Like, we didn't even know. I mean, I had no clue what was going on. So yeah. So, we didn't know that we should separate them completely. And people will ask me like, why won't you sell us a female if we have an intact male? And I'm like, because you have no idea what you're getting into. I know from firsthand experience. So yeah, so they tied. She was like 9 months old. And I was like in tears. I called my vet crying. And this is my old farm vet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, ma'am, she'll be fine. She, he's like, she went into heat, she can have puppies. And I was like, okay. Yeah. So he was like, it'd be harder on her to spare. Like, just let her have them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was freaking out. And so we took her in for an ultrasound because that's what, I thought we were supposed to do. He said he saw 4. Then we went back. Well, on the ultrasound, he didn't think she was pregnant. We took her for an x-ray and he saw 4. She had 10.
Oh, wow.
10. They just kept coming. And I'm like, the first puppy that came, we still laugh about it. The first puppy came. I slept on the love seat. Like, she was like panting all night, like zoning out, And I was like, oh, this is awful. And so the first puppy comes and I go in and she does all the stuff and she like eats the placenta and then she looks at me and barfs it up. And the smell, oh, I ran out the back door and he heaved. And I looked at my husband, I was like, I can't do this. There's no way I'm gonna be able to do this. Yeah, it was rough. So like, yeah, the first one was rough. Like I was freaking out about everything, little thing, It's so funny. And I had done tons of research, like what I needed to have on hand and, so yeah, it was funny. So I feel for people that are just starting out, like they'll get on those groups and ask questions and I'll giggle and be like, oh my God, I remember when I had no clue what I was doing. I was like watching videos of puppies being born. So I knew what it was going to look like. And yeah.
Wow.
That's funny thinking back. Yeah. But now I'm like, whatever, they'll be fine. They got it. Yeah. And my vet was like, leave her alone. Like just butt out. Like she's built to do, like she's made to do this. She knows what she's doing. Like the more you interfere, the worse. Just leave her alone. Let her have her puppies. Like he was kind of chewing my ass for, being in there. And he's like, just leave her alone. Yeah. Cause I kept calling him like, she's doing this. She's doing this. He's just leave her alone. So
I got about 3.5 years ago, I wanted a guard dog because I work nights, and I did a lot of research, and I really fell in love with livestock guardian dogs. So I got a livestock guardian dog from a rancher in Kansas, and the dog, he was born in a ditch on the farm, and the lady just. There was 9 puppies, and then I woke up to 9 puppies, and she didn't do a damn thing. I mean, fed him, and he was healthy as a horse,
Yeah, I'm not that survival to critters. Like mine are in whelping boxes, and like I can't even put them on shavings. Like I see newborn puppies on shavings, and I cringe. Like, so I think they should be on nice soft blankets and very like sterile, clean environment.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, but I know there's tons of people that are like, I mean, even bulldog people, I'll see like, they're like, whatever. Now I did have, when we moved to Florida, my dog Charity was due to deliver, and I think I was coming down to Florida to close on our house, and my son and daughter were home, which my daughter was like in her 20s. And she called me and said, she thought she was going to labor, and I had cameras on her, and I was like, she is going into labor. I'm like, I had her take her temperature. I'm like, yeah, she's definitely in labor, keep it a close eye on her. And that was so stressful, like not being there. But she had them, they like watched her, to make sure nobody got stuck or anything. But that was like her that was her third litter. So she, she had done it 2 times before, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they were right there and watched her, but I watched on the cameras.
Yeah.
And I would call my kids and be like, she's having another one. Get your asses out there and check on them. Because we had, in Ohio, we had, my husband had built me these insulated whelping rooms. They were freaking awesome. I told him, you got to build me those again, because I haven't had a better setup than that. It was awesome because it was like 8 foot long and it had a separation at 4 foot. And the back part had pig rails. I could put like heat lamps, clamp them on the walls. There was like 8 feet high in between them. I didn't have to worry about anybody getting in, seeing anybody else, and kept everybody warm. And then when I weaned them, we just put a smaller divider in so the puppies could get to both sides, and we just litter trained them to the other side.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was fantastic. Yeah. So now it's a lot more work. It's a lot more laundry and using regular whelping boxes and like those iris pins. It's a little rougher, but a lot more manual labor. Yeah. 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 That's the only one I was not physically present for, and I was a wreck. So she did fine. She did absolutely fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of my girls, they actually will pretty much tell me like, butt out,
Yeah.
They don't want to be. They're like, you can, I just know now, but they, they don't want you helping with the cords. They don't want you to touch them. Like, so. Yeah.
So the progression of your American Bulldog, what, to where you've the first, let's say 5 years to now, what's changed, and what's quality American Bulldog to you now?
So I think the progression, like we went from just being like a pet home originally, wanting to have a litter of puppies and experience that, to I took Storm back and bred the 2 short. We kept a male named Spartacus out of that, showed him to be a champion. But back then the dog shows were big. There was a lot of American Bulldog. I'm talking about, these are all specialty registries. This isn't like, you go and compete against a bunch of other breeds. These are just American Bulldogs. So shows would have, 100 dogs at them. And so if you won at one of those shows, like you won something. Like I remember his first best in show was at a show called King of the Ring in Michigan. And I think there was like, I don't even remember. There was at least 4 or 5 dogs in that ring. So he had to win, he had to win his age class, and then he had to beat the other male, and then he had to beat the female, and it was a big deal. Like I cried, like it was a big deal, especially at that show. And then he was 3 years old though when he finished, and I started showing him as he was like 8 or 9 months old. We started showing him. So it took, 3 years basically to finish this dog. And I would travel all over Canada. Like we were in Ohio, so I go to Canada. I went all the way to Texas with him. He needed 1 major for probably 2 years. He got like everything he needed in the beginning, like the points, but then getting that last major, it just eluded us. Like we went all the way to Texas. Chris Smith was there with his dog Apollo, and Apollo beat us every show. And then we went to Battle of the Bulls was in and Bourbonnais, I think I'm saying that right, Illinois. And Spartacus finally got his last major there. I finished 2 dogs with that show. I had Bailey, which is Charity's mother. She finished, and Spartacus finished there. So it just, back then it took. Now sometimes you can go in a weekend and finish. Yeah. But anyway, I'm digressing. So that was our, I think once I started showing, I just kind of got the bug, like I got the show bug. Like I wanted to keep showing, and Then I bought a female from another breeder. And then I had somebody reach out to me. They wanted to place a dog with me because I was showing and doing the stuff. They wanted me to do that with their dog. And at the time I thought, oh, that's cool. Like, that's when you learn, like, sometimes people giving you dogs is not really a blessing. I got one that I never could get the papers on. And then the other one I got, the lady was like a pain in the ass. I'll just be nice and say that. And so anyway, I would take a ton of dogs. Like, whatever we had, I would take them. We did a couple like puppy back deals with people. On our, stud, we would stud our dog out and take a dog back. And yeah, we just started breeding. And I think in the beginning, I really bred with my emotions because I wanted to like reproduce my first dog. I mean, he lived until we were in Florida. I think he's been going on this month. I think he'll be gone 3 years because he was almost 14 when we put him down. And so, I just kept trying to reproduce him and I wasn't getting him. But I think that's when I really started studying like the genetic part. Like, why am I not accomplishing this? The dogs I'm breeding look like they should give me him, but they're not. And then I started looking into like, his pedigree on the mother side was really scattered. So to reproduce him was going to be really hard, and then some of his pups didn't have the greatest temperaments. That whole first litter of his and him and Storm, that whole litter died of some type of cancer, but a lot of them were older, and I just didn't know in the beginning that was pretty common. So I felt kind of defeated over that, like these people love these dogs, but they were like 8, 9, 10 years old, which is really common in the breed for them to have cancer. So I think the progression really was just learning like from every litter. Like, I started watching the puppies. We started going to showing, and then we watched weight pull. And then I started going to a weight pull guy, and we tried it. We had 3 dogs that we tried it with, and really only one of them enjoyed it, which was my first dog. He did freaking everything. Whatever we asked him to do, he'd do it. And so we started weight pulling with him. Well, he was great at it. So it was fun, like he enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing it. And that's when he became my dog. So when I started doing all that training with him, he kind of transitioned from being our family pet into this working dog. And then we were in Chicago at Battle of the Bulls, and we weren't showing conformation. We only went to weight pull. They had like 3 weight pulls in the weekend. And the guy there, his name's Tillman, he did like the decoy work. And I was like, hey, can I give you like $20? Will you see if my dog will bite the sleeve? Like, it looks fun. We went out like in a side yard, and he said, hang on to him, I'm going to fire him up. And he like cracked his whip, and that dog went nuts. And he's like, let him go. And I was like, what? He's like, let him go. So I did. And he ran down there and did it. I mean, never tried it before. Didn't know what a sleeve was. Like, just went and did it. And he's like, you should put him in the hardest hitting today. And I was like, okay. He did it. Like, the dog did it. And every show we went to, like, we didn't give a shit about the showing anymore. We wanted to take him and weight pull and go do hardest hitting.
Mm-hmm.
It was so fun. Like, and then we started, they had a organization called Iron Dog.
Yeah.
And we started training for the Iron Dog titles. So you had to get like an obedience thing before you could go and do the protection titles, which this dog is like 5 years old and he's been our baby for 5 years. And now we're making him mine, you know? So yeah. And Tillman helped me with a couple of those because I didn't know how to train a dog to do
Right.
like out and all that, like down. And so, and my husband, he's way more patient and a better trainer than I am. Like he's got way more patience with stuff like that.
Right.
So it was like a team effort to get this dog trained so that he could pass. And yeah, we got Iron Dog titles on him. I mean, he's probably the heaviest titled dog I have had. And then after that, it was just like the normal thing for us. Like, you know, we get a dog, we start showing it as a puppy, get a champion title on it, start doing training for, you know, we did Iron Dog temperament testing. We get like a defensive handler, a GDT, you know, get all those, do the Iron Dog triathlons, pentathlons. Like that was just kind of the normal that we just started doing that because it's just what we like doing with our dogs. And,
Mm-hmm.
but that's really all the farther we ever took it. Like we've never done like PSA or, I went to an IGP club and I enjoyed it, but I feel like, I don't have the patience for that. Like you got to train for like 2 years with one dog. And the repetitiveness of it just
Mm-hmm.
isn't my jam, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I feel like the working stuff is kind of also like I guess it's almost another checkbox. Like I said, I like them to get a championship title. I like them to be health tested, but I also like them to have some kind of a title, working title on them. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really a sport. I mean, it's, you know, I like them to be able to have something, you know, like that. And not all American Bulldogs are going to enjoy doing the same thing. So whether it's a weight pull title or an Iron Dog title, or, you know, if we move into UKC and start doing that stuff, like I can't expect every dog to get a title in everything. You know, maybe they have to, it's not enjoyable if they don't enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like the one I took to the show and she was like, she hated it. You know, she didn't, they're a guardian breed. Like they don't all love strangers walking up to them and touching them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another part of it is, you know, and as a judge too, like some of the dogs I judged, they didn't really want me messing with them. And I was cool with that as long as they didn't try to turn around and nail me. So, you know, I feel like with a guardian breed, you really shouldn't be able to walk up to me and touch my dog. But if you're going to have a show dog, they've got to be able to allow it. They have to be able to tolerate it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that inspection. So, yeah. But yeah, that was our progression. We just started going to shows and seeing what the other, and I thought, man, that looks like fun to do that stuff with your dog. I wonder if my dogs will do it, you know, and that was Iron Dog used to be at all the Bulldog shows. And now I think like the NKC, Maggie and Richard do the NWDA, which is it's some titling you can get at the shows. They still do the fun events like Driviest Puppy, the hardest hitting. Sprint races are fun. And you know, all that stuff it's fun and it gets the dog experience, you know, like just to do different things. And I've had a lot of dogs, like the first time I'll take them out to do something, they're, you know, fearful or, you know, they don't love it. And then the next time I take them, like I'll give them another chance. And then the next time they'll be fine and they'll do great at it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think knowing dog mentality too, you know, you got to kind of learn that as you go. But Yeah, we just, I mean, and again, always educating yourself, like, what's puppy puzzle? Like, there's that thing, the puppy puzzle, to pick your puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't agree with all of it, but we use some of it. We use pieces of it for what we feel is important. Um, so I mean, I just think you learn. There is no better teacher than experience. I don't think I could tell you exactly what to do, but until you do it, you're not really going to learn it. So and where we're at now, I feel like I have not had an American Bulldog litter in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some Shorty Bull litters and some Frenchie litters. And I feel like at my age, like, and, I've had like lots of back surgeries. I probably shouldn't have American Bulldogs at all, but I really love the American Bulldog breed. And I'm probably never going to like totally just be out of it. But I definitely am to the point where I'm going to slow down.
Right.
Like, I have dogs that are 3, 4, 5 years old that have never been bred. And I really need to, do a litter with them, before it's too late. But, again, this economy really stinks right now. So it's, like we just did a breeding on a 5-year-old female. And I think she'll be due like December 14th, but it'll probably be the same thing as my Frenchies. People won't want to pay for them. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have hip certified, elbow certified, DNA cleared puppies and be fighting the $500 sellers. So it's frustrating. It's very frustrating, but, yeah, but that's where we're at now. We're just like, the little dogs are a lot easier on your body, and
Mm-hmm.
less food, less mess. Like if I had 14-week-old American Bulldogs, number one, the litters are bigger. I would probably have, 6 to 10 puppies in one litter, and they would be killing each other right now.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't put them in an iris pen
Mm-hmm.
together for
Yeah.
14 weeks. Like they would be getting it on. So I'd have to be individually crating them,
Mm-hmm.
housebreaking, the whole nine with American Bulldogs, and they need socialization. Like I would have to be taking them away, and
Yeah.
I can't even, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine like
Mm-hmm.
right now being stuck with 10, 14-week-old American Bulldog puppies. And then, I travel for work, that goes in spurts. So that's not like pre-planned out very far either. So it's not like, and that my career has, I take care of my dogs, but the breeding part has got to come after the career because my career pays for the dogs. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So it's just a balance, like there was a time that I would have said, I don't give a shit about my job. My dogs come first, but I think that comes with maturity that,
Yeah. Yeah. For
this is,
sure.
yeah. Yeah. So we're getting more towards retirement. I got to get that 401k build up.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
God. Don't remind
Yeah.
me.
And I don't really think there's money in dogs. I mean, in my experience anyway, it's not something you want to get into to make money because maybe some people get in and make some money and get out. I don't know. But for the long haul, if that's what you're worried about, don't bother. Just keep, have a garden or something. Don't get into dogs.
What is your ideal American, like, from your standards today? What would be, like, you would say, I we created a good one here? Can you kind of give us an overview, the picture, the height, weight, and structure, and temperament, and all that?
Mm. So I think I'm like kind of an oddball. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Maybe other people are like this, but um, I do like a tall dog, and I don't know if it's because I'm taller. It's maybe, I mean, I think the breed standard is a taller dog too, but I like a bigger dog, like a taller dog. I like bully dogs, but I don't like extreme bully. So, the standard calls for some muzzle length. I do think even if they're bully, they still should have a muzzle, and their heads should be big enough that you really can't tell they have a muzzle. Like, so, I mean, I'll give you some examples of dogs. Like Zora was one, big round basketball head. Probably could fit a basketball in his mouth, honestly, but he had like a 3-inch muzzle. But if you just looked at him, you wouldn't know that. I mean, because he had, it was just so a proportionate head, and I think for me, there just is no perfect dog. So like, I just go through, like when we have puppies and I'm looking for what I want to keep back, I'm always looking like, is it better than what I already have? Is it going to add value to my program? And it might be a certain piece of the dog. Like the dog looks great overall, but maybe the like rear angulation is spectacular. And I feel like that's something that's lacking a lot, especially in bully dogs. So that's something we've been working really hard on, is to clean up the rear end from, like if you're looking at from the side, like that turn at the stifle, feet, getting tight feet, dogs that are, not laid back on their pasterns, dogs that are up on their pasterns. The front shoulder angle, is the chest out in front of the shoulders, or is it, is the chest tucked back? You can't see the chest from the side. Top line. I see a lot of roachback dogs. They have a big hump. So to me, the ideal dog is just a very proportionate dog. Just the length, the width, the height, the head size. I do have a pet peeve of the pigment is a pet peeve of mine. It's just something I don't like. So if they don't have like the eyeliner and the lip, I don't really love a dappled nose. I mean, now I know like Zor, he was 5 or 6 before his nose all filled in, which is, I thought, so you really, I mean, I think you got to know your bloodline. We recently just got back hip results on a really, just blows my mind how pretty this dog is. He's really, really nice. He's actually in Boston, and we sold him on a co-own, and it was because the folks didn't want to neuter their male, and I have a pretty strict rule about, okay, but I'm keeping the breeding rights. You don't get any breeding rights. So I'll keep the breeding rights to the dog. And this particular dog, I believe the contract was 2 breedings or 2 collections back to him. And these people are fantastic. They don't want anything to do with like dog people or breeding or showing or nothing like that. They don't want anything to do with any of that. They don't really want any attention from dog people, but they have been wonderful. Like, send me pictures all the time. I actually, when I transported dogs, I delivered their female to them. So that's how they even know who I am. They had got a female from another breeder, and I delivered it. So then, they contacted me about this puppy, a beautiful puppy, but I had kept a different male from that litter. It actually was a dual sired litter. So I had kept 2 males from that litter, 1 from each dad. But the male I kept didn't turn out. His rear end was he was like out in the rear. He was real shy. he just didn't turn out, so I pet homed him. But Lenny he's pretty nice. He's a pretty nice dog. And he is just like his sire. So Fabio was a one family dog, which I'm perfectly fine with that. Like, it's hard when you're showing dogs to have a dog like that. You've got to get them out young. And, if you get a dog out young and you show them and they get used to that environment, they usually are fine with it. But this dog's like 4.5 years old, and he probably would go clean house. I mean, he's gorgeous, but he's 4.5. He doesn't like people that aren't his family. So I'm not going to make a 4.5-year-old dog go through training just so it can go show. Like, and these people aren't interested in that anyway. They just love their dog. So we got his pin hip done, which in Boston, everything's super expensive. So it's really expensive. They actually messed up his x-rays. They pin hip rejected them because they didn't give them enough distraction to measure. So he had to take the dog back again, get sedated again. The vet office had all 3 of their vets present for the second one. Of course, I called, when they got rejected. I wasn't very happy. And because here I'm asking this family to take this dog, like on this, it's not a short drive for them either. But anyway, they redid the testing, and the vet called and said, the reason that they had such a hard time is because he's so muscular in the rear end and his hips were so tight, they had a hard time getting a measurement. So I was thinking, oh, he's going to be like in the low teens or something, but he wasn't. So I don't know if that was why. He is very muscular in the rear end, but he was a 29-27. So that's real. I mean, it's low scores, but it's not the lowest. So I don't know why there was such a problem, but whatever. And so I was real happy that he, he's cleared with the DNA stuff because I cleared their parents. So the only thing we don't test for that a lot of people are testing for now is HUU. So it's something new. I might have to go back like through all the DNA we ran. I might have to go back and have that ran on all the dogs and see if any of them, because they have the DNA on file. You just ask them to run an additional test.
Right.
I think they would still have it anyway, but and that particular dog has his actual DNA profile on file because he was a dual-sired litter. So we had to DNA all the dogs for proof of parentage too.
Right.
So yeah, so he's going the 30th of November to get collected. Cross my fingers because he doesn't like other people.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the vet's totally aware. She thinks they can do like almost like a pre-sedation. And then they're gonna do like a semen evaluation first, so like a pre-visit. So they'll take him and collect him and evaluate it, and they have a teaser bitch that will be used to keep his attention. But they're gonna do like a basket muzzle and stuff on him just in case. And she's like, I don't want to risk my face. But
right.
yeah, but he just does not. Fabio was the same way. Like, if you were not his family, he wouldn't attack you or come after you, but you better not touch him.
Right.
You're not going to pet, like, you could not pet him. It's funny because when we first got him, when I first met Fabio, I took a female down to Humble, Texas, to Zane's house, and we bred to Fabio. But Zane would say, don't try to pet him. And I was like, oh, whatever, But yeah, he did not. He wouldn't like shy away from me, but he was like always watching.
Right.
He was like always watching me. Like, I don't know you. Why are you in my house? And then when we got him in China from Zane and he came to live with us, it took him a little bit to realize that he was our dog now, and not be an asshole. But yeah, after that, once he was settled in, nobody messed with him. Like, he was great with my grandkids and my kids, but he did not like outside people. We would tell, like our son had a girlfriend come over, and I was like, don't pet him. Just ignore him. Like, I didn't have to put him up or anything, but like, just don't pet him. I'm like, even if he comes up to you, just don't reach out to pet him. Because he would snap at people. Yeah, he's like, don't touch me. It was just an odd, but that's how Lenny is. Lenny doesn't want anybody to touch them. He doesn't. And they said if you have a dog with you, when you meet him, he doesn't care about you. But if you don't have a dog and you come up to try to touch him, he's gonna act like a crazy dog. So
interesting.
Yeah, and some people were like, "Oh, send him to training, and he should be showing." And I'm like, "Nah." Why put him through it? I mean, he's 4.5 years old. You know, it'd be different if he lived with me and I could, work on it. But I'm not. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I always need those good dogs that are good breeding stock.
Well, and they don't really have to. I mean, the breed standard says they can be aloof with strangers. Like, they don't have to like outside people.
Right.
They don't have to like other dogs either. I mean, in my book, like, they're a guardian breed. They're not supposed to. I mean, it's kind of like a catch-22 because they're not supposed to let people walk up to you. But then we take them to a dog show and ask them to let people walk up to us that they don't know. So
yeah.
Sometimes that's why you see dogs going off on the judges. They, it's kind of what they're supposed to do. They're not really let some man walk up to me and approach me in that way.
What's your thoughts of the color revolution in the American Bulldogs?
I don't do it. I had an accidental color breeding one time. Like, I just really didn't understand color genetics, I guess. So actually, it's Charity's mom. She was from Simply Incredible, and she was fawn. She was all white, but she had like a little fawn spot on her. And I bred her to a blue brindle dog out of Pennsylvania. Can't remember his name. Bankroll Blue was his name. Nick Lewis owned him. Had really cute puppies, but they all had like weird tails, like short tails. I had like red. I had fawn. I had probably a lilac, honestly. And I was like, oh boy. And then I had like a real cute, white and brindle puppy. But I didn't keep any of those puppies because I was like, oh, yeah. So, yeah, I don't breed with the American Bulldogs. I don't breed out of standard to color. Now, one of my best friends, Paula, she loves the color. And I think she probably has some of the best structured colored dogs. Like, she's really big on structure. And, she's a wonderful person. She takes excellent care of her dogs. She does have a nice program, but we are just good friends, but we disagree on the color. And she's got a picture of me holding her chocolate American Bulldog puppies. That's awesome. And I think she posted it and she was like, I'm bringing her to the dark side. Yeah, she's got a real nice dog. Reno, he's really bully. He's like a little ball of muscle. And Paula, what was so cool about Paula and I's relationship is when I met her, she had showed some. I had contacted her because she was in Florida to see if she wanted to ride with me on a transport. And she went with me and we just hit it off. And then we did do a couple breedings together. She used Blackjack for Fancy. and had a really nice litter. And I used a couple of her dogs different time. Well, I used Mac, and we had a litter. The dogs we kept back from that didn't really turn out either. They're all in pet homes. I think one passed. And then I tried to breed to a blackjack son, and it didn't take. So we've worked together a little bit on breedings, but it's not really been with the colored dogs. But yeah, she's got a nice program. But I told her, you ought to start doing some protection stuff. Like, I think we did maybe like Driviest Puppy or something at a dog show. And I was like, your dogs, like, they got it. Like, you should really start doing this. So we started having, well, my friend Ed Miller lives in Southwest Florida, and he kept bugging me about having this trainer, like me getting in front of this trainer that would like him. He was trying to start working with dogs again. And I was like, whatever, Ed, like, I don't have time to train, like, and he's like, no, you really need to get in front of this guy, blah, blah, blah. So I finally drove down. It was like 2.5 hour drive. I drove down to this guy. I took Blackjack and I can't remember who else I took, somebody else. And we met in like this old subdivision that never got built in South Florida. And we went out there and worked dogs. And I mean, then it was Mike Connors. He started coming to our little farm. I think we started out doing like every other weekend. He would come, and then we had, a few people that would come to the house and train when he was there. And then, we started having Iron Dog events at the dog shows. And then we had Mike Apprentice under Tillman. And then Mike became a judge, and he was able to judge, our events after that. So, and then Mike had found some other decoys and stuff, just because he was training dogs. He was, developing his business. So he had found some other trainers, and he would bring them, trainers and decoys, and he would bring them sometimes to our weekend thing. And so that lasted for a while. And then I think Mike ended up buying Iron Dog. So I had reached out to the owners of Iron Dog and said, hey, I think I have a buyer for you. I'm going to connect you guys and see what happens. So he ended up buying Iron Dog. And then we had another event. It was a pretty decent size. We had pretty good turnouts with the working dogs. And then after that, we just kind of stopped training. I think the distance that he had to drive, because it was like 2.5 hours that he would have to drive to come to the house to train. And we didn't have a lot of people doing it. So I don't really know exactly why we completely quit, but probably I'm just assuming it was probably just not worth it. And he was getting busier with his individual training, and then I think he had another club he was working with down there. So that kind of all came to a screeching halt. So we quit having the training days. But that's how that's how you develop people, So anyway, Paula was coming to my house. She was driving like an hour and a half. And then Tyler Lewis, he was driving a couple hours. So and then there was another girl that came from Orlando or Tampa, I can't remember. But they were all coming and, driving probably as far as he was to train with him. So then Paula got a bunch of titles on Reno, and she loves it. Like, she's hooked to, but people have a misconception. If you let your dogs bite, they're going to bite. And it's just not true. So, it's a very controlled thing. It's an outlet for them. I think it helps them problem solve because it's very mentally exhausting for the dogs to go out, even if it's a short session. Yeah. So, yeah, that was cool that Paula started working her dogs, and now she really likes it. She's into the obedience. She's trained horses, so she's way more patient than me. She's really good at the obedience stuff, and I'm not.
Right.
Yeah. So that was cool that out of our relationship, she, started working her dogs. But that's how people get into stuff like that is, I think that we've lost that, like we used to have the shows where people would help each other. Now it's like not even enough people come to make it where you could even help anybody because it's just people aren't showing up. They think, they get on the internet. They don't want mentors. They already know it all. So yeah, I kind of miss those days where we had, 20, 30 dogs and the hardest hitting. And yeah, so, but yeah, we have a few. I mean, there's quite a few of us that still do some of the working stuff with our dogs. And I think everybody's got a life, so it's hard to commit to high level sport. But like Iron Dog's really, I think it's changed a little bit since Mike bought it. And then Dan Allure, he's in Canada. He owns Dancroft Training, and he actually owns one of our shorty bulls. We co-own a shorty bull with him, Batman. And they have a really nice training facility, and he owns Iron Dog Canada.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I think they have actually changed it to be like an independent, sport titling thing where it always used to be an affiliation with the Bulldog show. It never really stood alone. It always would be like there'd be a Bulldog show and then Iron Dog would be at it. So I think they've developed it out to get more breeds to participate and kind of, expanded it to be its own thing.
Right.
So that's cool. I mean, it's kind of cool and not cool at the same time. Like, I don't know, it was always associated with a Bulldog show. So it's kind of, it's like, I don't know, losing a friend, I guess, but it's still there. So, but they've made it a little bit harder. They've made the requirements to be a little bit more or less entry level, I think. But yeah, that's their prerogative. So, yeah. So, yeah.
What's your thoughts of the American Bulldog and AKC?
I think the standard is bad that they put in. I think it's a really small dog. I think it's like a small hybrid dog. So, I think the people that put it in, I don't know, they really didn't show a whole lot. So I don't know what made them want to put it in. So yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of it. I think it's cool that you can register them and go do all the things that AKC offers. But the actual confirmation standard, don't really love it.
It's not your thing, huh?
No, it's just a small hybrid dog. I can't remember exactly. I don't want to misspeak, but I think it was like a 21-inch dog. So, yeah, I just wasn't a big fan. I wasn't really a big fan of the way it was done either. I feel like it was kind of sneaky. It wasn't really like, I don't know. I just feel like it was, I don't know. So now, the UKC, the United States American Bulldog Club, is the breed club for the American Bulldog, and they're recognized by the UKC. And they're really doing a lot of hard work to get more participation in the UKC. And, I was like, I'm probably the biggest negative Nelly on this. Like, we already have poor participation. Why push another registry? You know, like, you go to a dog show, and even as a host, you get 25, 30 dogs. Like, you're probably not breaking even if you had to rent a place. Like, plus, you know, because you got awards, you got judges travel, hotels, you've got, you know, if you're feeding people, it's just a lot of expense to put a show on. But I went to a UKC event just because I'm like, I don't want to knock it till I've seen it, you know? And I was pretty impressed, honestly. So, like, I don't know if you've ever been to an AKC show, but you go into your group. So in the UKC, the American Bulldog is in the Guardian group, right? So you go in your breed, right? So you're the best in your breed. So you go against the American Bulldogs. Then you go against your group. So whoever won in all the breeds in your group. So there's like Pressas, Shepherds, Dobermans, whatever is in your group. Then you win your group. Then when you win your group, then you go in for your best in show. So people have always said, "Oh yeah, you can go to a UKC show, but you're not going to beat any other dogs." Well, you are. You're essentially beating every other dog there in any other breed. If you get a best in show, you've beat every dog that showed up in all the breeds. Just because there was only 2 American Bulldogs doesn't mean that you didn't win something. You know, so I think people have to go like see it for themselves. Like, it's very competitive too. like those poodle people, they are like grooming their lives away out there, getting them dogs ready. Like, it is something to see. I'm telling you, it was. And then I went to Premiere, which is UKC's like nationals. It's in Michigan. It's every year in June.
Kalamazoo, right?
I've never seen so many dogs in one place in my life. So much dogs, so many dog things to do. Like UKC, I think their motto is dogs that do more.
Right.
Like, no doubt. They have scent. So they have all these scent titles. They have rally obedience, which I was like, what's that? So I literally, the last time I traveled, I sat on my computer. They have videos for every single title they have. They have people doing a walkthrough of the titles so you can see what you're supposed to do. So rally is like signs. There's like literally signs sitting on the floor, and you have to do what the signs say with your dog. That's what rally obedience is. The other obedience is like what we're used to. Somebody verbally telling you, like, turn right, turn left, sit down, whatever. And then they have different levels, you know, like on leash, off leash, whatever. So it's pretty, they have so much stuff. Dock diving. They have agility. They have, you know, the fast cat. They have precision. Or I think fast cat's AKC. I think it's called lure coursing and the precision coursing. Yeah. So they have a ton of stuff to do for the dogs. It's pretty cool. So Fred Yelton's dog, Buster, that dog was like hard to beat. When he was showing, he was hard to beat. And my female Voodoo, we were at the where was that? Maggie Valley Moonshine Jam. We had a dog show at the Moonshine Festival. I think it was an ABRA show. I think we did ABRA, and Chris Kelly had a Backwood Bulldog Club registry. And Jeff Lyle was judging. So I'm going in for best in show against Buster with a standard judge. And I made a joke, like, I'm wasting my time walking in here. And Jeff he was like taking the longest time to decide. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to turn around. You guys stack your dogs, and I'm going to turn around, and whichever one looks the best, that's what I'm picking. Because I can't pick. And he picked her. He picked my dog. And that was like my favorite moment of showing dogs, that I beat Buster. because it was hard to beat him. But yeah, Buster is Bobo's sire, and that's so I bred Charity to Bobo. So that's like Blackjack and Alfie. I had a female named Triple Threat. That litter was so their grandpa was a standard dog. So we get some longer muzzles off of those dogs. So sometimes, yeah.
What is what's the thought with your group of bulldogs with the standard dogs? There's just not enough bone or too much.
I mean, I've seen some standard dogs that are impressive, just not very many. I think it's just it's just what I like, I guess, like Stephanie Gregson has some nice standard dogs. Maggie Shook has some nice standard dogs. Lynn Carradine, Polly Green, they have nice standard dogs. Monique, she's got some nice standard dogs. Yeah, they're big. They have bone. They have substance. A lot of the standard dogs you see are like real thin boned and real, just real thin, almost like hound dogs, looking, and that like are real pointy, long, pointy. I like, they still need to have the bigger muzzle and some cheeks. And yeah, I'm just not I mean, I have dogs that, like my female Jaja, she would go on the standard ring. I show Angel in the standard ring. I mean, they're not truly standard dogs, but I mean, they look standard. See, and I think, there was always this joke you'd say, work your standard and show your Johnson, right? So it was always a challenge to us to have working bully dogs because everybody thought they couldn't work. They couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like we take Zor out, he was big. Zor was a big dog. But I think when we started working him, he was like 113 pounds. He was big. And that's how big Lenny is. Lenny, when Lenny went to the vet, his weight on his paperwork is 113 pounds. And he's 25 inches at the withers.
Wow.
He's a big dog. He is the size that an American Bulldog should be.
God, he's almost the size as my Turkish Shepherd.
Yeah, they should be. I mean, the males should be big.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that AKC standard, he would be too big.
Right.
He'd be too tall. I think the males max at like 23 or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, we like bigger dogs. I don't always get bigger dogs out of our breedings. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think too, genetics, when you start squeezing down,
mm-hmm.
You lose some size too. So
yeah.